first we couldn't agree on anything. Every conversation turned into a debate. You'd take one side, I'd take another, just to see who'd give in first. Somewhere between all the disagreements and the jokes that followed after, the distance quietly disappeared without either of us noticing. Funny how things work out sometimes. Somehow we ended up on the same side after spending months across the line. All those little arguments turned into reasons to stay. Now every conversation feels easier than either of us expected. Somehow we ended up on the same side, and I kinda like it here. The things that used to divide us started making us laugh instead. What felt impossible back then now feels impossible to imagine. Every difference became part of a bigger picture forming, until the story changed directions without asking permission. Not every connection starts smoothly. Somehow we ended up on the same side, and looking back it's obvious why. The best relationships sometimes grow where nobody expects them to. And if someone told me then how this would turn out, somehow we ended up on the same side, I wouldn't have believed it. One question led somewhere interesting, then another one appeared. The evening ran out before we could reach the end of either. Certain thoughts remained unfinished, suspended comfortably in the air, like bookmarks waiting patiently for the next chapter. Not every story needs an ending, yet we never finished that conversation. And maybe that's what I like, the feeling that there's still more waiting just beyond tonight. The best connections leave room for tomorrow to continue. We never finished that conversation, and I hope we never do. Ideas kept circling back days after the moment ended. The questions stayed alive longer than expected. Some exchanges don't conclude, they simply pause for a while, gathering new directions before they begin again. Curiosity is its own kind of bond. We never finished that conversation, yet somehow it feels complete, because every unfinished sentence promises another meeting. And that's enough to keep me smiling long after the words are gone. We never finished that conversation, and that's what keeps it going. Just when I thought the evening had already reached its peak, something else appeared and raised the ceiling higher. One surprise followed another, one memory created the next. The hours kept delivering more than they mountain. New conversations found momentum, unexpected connections appeared. The atmosphere kept building without ever feeling forced. Even time seemed generous, allowing everything to happen at exactly the right pace for us to enjoy it. Some nights arrive already glowing. The night kept getting better until it became unforgettable. Not because of one big moment, but because of all of them. And now every time I think back, I end up smiling again. The night kept getting better, right up to the end. The chairs were already stacked away. The lights had started fading low. Everyone else had disappeared into the rest of their night. Yet somehow another story surfaced, then another one right after that. Every goodbye became a question neither of us could ignore. The clock kept trying to interrupt. We were supposed to leave an hour ago, but the conversation had other plans. One more minute became 20, then another one again. The night kept finding reasons for us to stay a while. We were supposed to leave an hour ago, and neither of us tried. The parking lot grew quieter. The air turned cooler around us, but every topic opened pathways we hadn't walked before. A simple evening stretched itself far beyond its original shape into something worth remembering long after it was over. Some moments don't wanna end on time. We were supposed to leave an hour ago, and maybe that's why it mattered, because neither of us noticed the hours disappearing. Now every time I think about it, I end up smiling again. We were supposed to leave an hour ago, but I'm glad we didn't. The goodbye started near the doorway, then somehow wandered back inside. One last thought became another, and another after that. The evening refused to shrink into the ending we expected. Every minute seemed determined to keep itself alive. Nobody rushed toward tomorrow. We kept finding reasons to stay. One more story, one more laugh. Every farewell changed direction before it had the chance to land. The night kept opening doors we hadn't noticed before. We kept finding reasons to stay, and I kept hoping for more. The hours slipped quietly past us without demanding attention. The best moments often happen when nobody checks the clock. A simple gathering transformed into something unexpectedly bright, built from nothing complicated, just people enjoying being there. Certain evenings deserve extra time. We kept finding reasons to stay until the stars only to stay, and maybe that was the reason. The subject seems straightforward, at least for the first few minutes. But ideas kept opening doors to entirely different places. One memory invited another, one question created three more. The path kept wandering happily away from where it began. Nobody wanted to interrupt the flow. We started talking about one thing, and somehow ended up everywhere, through old stories and new dreams and thoughts we'd never shared. The conversation built bridges without either of us trying. We started talking about one thing and left with something more. Passed unnoticed again, while curiosity stayed awake. The best exchanges rarely follow a predictable direction. Each answer revealed another layer, each laugh loosened the distance, until connection felt effortless and completely natural. Meaning often hides in detours. We started talking about one thing, yet that's not what I'll remember. I'll remember how easy it felt to stay a little longer, and how a simple beginning created an unforgettable night. We started talking about one thing, and everything turned out right. Evening slowly became night, without asking our permission. Meanwhile, every conversation created another path to follow. Curiosity kept extending the moment we were in. Attention settled in one place. I forgot to check the time. That's how good the moment felt. No countdown, no distractions, nothing pulling me away. The hours disappeared naturally, like waves meeting the shore. I forgot to check the time, and I rarely do that anymore. Nothing extraordinary happened, at least not from the outside. Yet somehow the ordinary became completely absorbing. The night drifted forward softly. We stayed where we were, enjoying the simple magic of being fully present. Time moves differently around connection. I forgot to check the time, and that's probably the compliment every great memory deserves before it becomes one. Somewhere between hello and eventually goodbye. Lately I've been catching myself smiling at ordinary afternoons, as if some part of me already knows these days are worth remembering. Nothing is perfect, nothing needs to be. The beauty lives somewhere else, in shared laughter, unfinished plans, and moments that arrive unannounced. Sometimes perspective arrives early. This feels like one of the good years, the kind we'll talk about later, the kind that leaves fingerprints across every memory. Not because everything went right, but because so much felt alive. This feels like one of the good years, and I don't wanna miss it. The future can wait a little longer. The present deserves attention too. These chapters are already becoming the stories we'll keep. Every ordinary day contributes another piece to the picture, without realizing how important it will eventually seem. Some seasons shine while they're happening. This feels like one of the good years, and I'm grateful that I noticed before it slipped into nostalgia and became a photograph. So I'll stay here a little longer inside this beautiful moment. This feels like one of the good years, and I know it somehow. The city lights drifted past like scenes from a familiar film. Neither of us seemed eager to reach the final page. The conversation stayed alive long after the event was over, as if the night itself was reluctant to disappear. Good moments have strange timing. The long way back felt too short for everything we still could say. The miles kept moving underneath us faster than I wanted. Every turn brought us closer to the end of something good. The long way back felt too short, and somehow that says everything. Silence never felt awkward. It settled naturally between us, like another language neither of us needed to learn. The evening carried enough warmth to follow us the whole way home, leaving traces of itself in every passing minute. Some journeys deserve extra distance. The long way back felt too short, but maybe that's the proof that certain nights become memories before they even finish. And somewhere between goodbye and getting home, the long way back felt too short to let the feeling go. predictably, like pages from the same book. Then your name appeared somewhere in the middle of everything, and suddenly the week felt different without changing at all. Some people improve entire seasons. You made the whole week better without even trying to. A little brighter, a little lighter, just because of you. The days kept their responsibilities, but lost some of their gravity. You made the whole week better in ways you never knew. The smallest messages mattered more than they probably should, yet somehow they kept finding exactly the right moment. A little joy traveled farther than either of us expected, leaving traces in ordinary places all week long. Kindness has a long reach. You made the whole week better, and that's not an exaggeration. Some people leave impressions, others change the atmosphere, and every day felt easier after hearing from you. You made the whole week better simply by being you. Some people arrive like fireworks, brilliant for a little while. Others feel more like morning light, steady, calm, and real. Nothing here feels complicated. Nothing needs to be explained twice. Comfort grows naturally between one day and the next. That's what makes this different. It's easy to imagine tomorrow with you, not because I know the future, but because being here feels right in a way I can't ignore. No dramatic promises needed, no impossible guarantees. It's easy to imagine tomorrow with you, and that's enough for me. The simplest plans sound better when your name is part of them. Ordinary moments become brighter without changing what they are. The world keeps moving around us, yet everything feels grounded, like I finally found a pace that makes sense. Love can be quiet and still be powerful. It's easy to imagine tomorrow with you, and the day after that too, because every version of the future feels warmer when you're there. And if happiness has a language, maybe this is how it speaks. It's easy to imagine tomorrow with you, so unbelievably easy. Nothing remarkable was happening, at least not from far away. Just another afternoon unfolding, like dozens before it. Then you appeared with your stories and your way of seeing things, turning simple observations feels different somehow. You make ordinary days interesting, like finding color where I missed it, like hearing a familiar song in a completely different way. The world doesn't have to change when you're around. You make ordinary days interesting just by being you. The smallest details become memorable. The smallest moments become enough. Even waiting turns enjoyable when you're part of it. I never noticed how much one person could affect a day without trying to impress anyone or be anything else. Some people brighten rooms, you brighten hours. You make ordinary days interesting without even realizing it. The simplest moments stay longer after you've been there, and somehow every memory carries a little extra light. You make ordinary days interesting every single time. For years I imagined happiness as something waiting farther ahead, a destination hidden beyond the next achievement or milestone. Then it appeared unexpectedly in moments too small to advertise, a feeling rather than an event, a rhythm rather than a reward. It arrived quietly. Maybe this is what happiness looks like. Not perfect, not permanent, just enough light in the present to make me wanna stay a while. Not fireworks across the skyline, not every dream fulfilled. Maybe this is what happiness looks like, and maybe that's enough. Peace found its way into ordinary hours without asking for attention. Contentment settled beside me like it had always belonged there. The rush to arrive somewhere gradually loosened its hold, leaving room to appreciate what was already here. Joy doesn't always raise its voice. Maybe this is what happiness looks like, a collection of simple truths, a sense of gratitude appearing in places I once overlooked. And if this is the answer I've been searching for all along, maybe this is what happiness looks like, and it feels like home. Everyone spent weeks preparing, making sure every detail fit. Expectations filled the calendar long before the day arrived. Yet what stays with me now isn't what we came there for. It's everything that happened in between the important parts. Life loves the spaces between plans. The best part wasn't the plan, it wasn't even close. It was the unexpected laughter, the moments nobody chose. The little things became the big things before we realized they could. The best part wasn't the plan, and that's what made it good. A conversation by accident, a memory created on the spot, a random detour becoming the highlight of the whole day. Sometimes the reason we arrive isn't the reason we remember, and maybe that's the beauty of letting moments surprise us. Meaning appears in strange places. The best part wasn't the plan, it happened naturally instead, without announcements or tension. It simply happened, and years from now I know those details will remain. The best part wasn't the plan, that's why it stayed. Just when everything found its rhythm, the shadows started growing longer. The sky began collecting colors it hadn't shown all afternoon. There was still more left to enjoy, more conversations left unfinished, more moments I wanted to stretch a little farther into evening. Time moved faster than expected. I wasn't ready for the day to end, not while it still felt this good, not while every passing minute was becoming something worth keeping. The hours slipped away too quickly, like pages turning in the wind. I wasn't ready for the day to end, but I'm glad it happened. Nothing dramatic caused the feeling, just a collection of good moments gathered together naturally across an ordinary day. Sometimes happiness appears without needing a special reason, and that's exactly why it catches me by surprise. Gratitude often arrives at sunset. I wasn't ready for the day to end, yet somehow that makes sense, because the best experiences always seem a little too short. And long after darkness settled, the feeling remained. I wasn't ready for the day to end, and that's a compliment. Whenever silence starts appearing, you somehow know exactly what to do. A memory emerges from nowhere, and suddenly the room comes alive. The timing never feels rehearsed, the punchline always lands, like you spent years collecting the perfect stories for every moment. Some people carry sunshine differently. You always know which story to tell, the right one at the right time, turning ordinary evenings into something worth remembering. A simple sentence from you can change the entire mood. You always know which story to tell, and somehow that's as a gift. The details grow a little bigger every time they're told again, yet nobody ever seems to mind because the joy remains intact. Even familiar stories feel fresh when they arrive through your voice, like hearing a favorite song played by a different band. Laughter has many translators. You always know which story to tell, and maybe that's why people stay. A good story becomes a bridge between one heart and another, and every room feels warmer after you've shared one more. You always know which story to tell. That's what I love most. Kept moving normally, nobody noticed anything strange. Yet one glance across the table changed the entire evening. A comment slipped between conversations, barely loud enough to catch, and suddenly we were trying not to laugh out loud. Some things only make sense to two people. Nobody else heard that joke, nobody else knew why, but somehow it made the whole night brighter for a while. The best kind of connection needs very little explanation. Nobody else heard that joke, and that's what made it ours. Every attempt to stay serious only made it worse again. One look restarted everything without a single word. Meanwhile the world continued, completely unaware of the ridiculous little moment happened in plain sight. The smallest memories last the longest. Nobody else heard that joke, yet years from now I bet we'll still remember exactly why it was so funny then. Some moments belong to almost nobody else. Nobody else heard that joke, and that's why I love it. Not every connection feels effortless. Some require constant translation. Some leave you questioning yourself long after they leave the room. Then there are rare people who make everything simpler without asking you to become someone you're not. That's what I found here. I like who I am around you, the version that shows up naturally, the one who laughs a little louder and worries a little less. No performance, no pretending, no trying to fit a shape. I like who I am around you, and that feels rare these days. The conversation never feels measured. The silence never feels heavy. Everything settles into place without either of us forcing it. Comfort arrived gradually and stayed longer than expected, until being myself stopped feeling complicated. The best relationships create room. I like who I am around you more with every passing day, because you never asked me to become somebody else. stood beneath unfamiliar skylines, walked streets I'd never seen before. Yet somehow nothing felt distant once the right people arrived. A room can change completely with a few familiar voices. Comfort has less to do with walls than who's standing inside them. Home travels in unexpected ways. The people who make anywhere feel familiar turn strangers into stories, turn uncertainty into laughter, and silence into warmth. No map could ever measure what their presence means. The people who make anywhere feel familiar make the world feel smaller. New places lose their sharp edges when shared with trusted company. Even ordinary moments gather a little extra light. Memories aren't attached to buildings or coordinates. They're attached to conversations still echoing years later. Belonging rarely depends on geography. The people who make anywhere feel familiar leave traces everywhere they go, transforming temporary moments into something lasting. And whenever I think of home, their faces come to mind. The people who make anywhere feel familiar are hard to leave behind.